how's it going? It's Colin Daniel here from riffninja.com. And welcome to the lesson. This is for beginners. But it could also be for anybody that doesn't really know the notes or doesn't know how the notes on their guitar work. This is not a lesson on reading staff notation. This is a lesson on knowing where the notes are on your guitar and how they work. That would be a separate lesson once you understand this. If I was teaching you full-time, I'd teach you this first. Then if you wanted to learn to read staff notation, then I'd take what I taught you here and apply it to the staff notation. But first you need to know the mechanics of the guitar, and this is where we're starting. Several issues. It depends on which way you've tuned your guitar to. I'm going to take it in standard tuning. Standard tuning is from the 6th string, which is the thickest string. 6th string is E. 5th string is A. 4th string is D. 3rd string is G. 2nd string is B. And 1st string is E again. There's 2 octaves between these 2 notes. We'll talk about that in a minute. 2 octaves. I know it doesn't mean anything to you yet, but it will when we sort it out. Okay. There's a big reason why the guitar is tuned the way it's tuned, but I'm not getting into it because it's an advanced theory lesson. There is a reason why the guitar is tuned the way it is, and it's got to do with the musical distances between the notes. But this is far beyond a beginner at this point, so you're just going to have to accept that this is standard tuning. This is the most common tuning of all. There's hundreds and hundreds of tunings on the guitar, but we're going to start with standard because that's a place to start from, a reference point. After that, you can learn to venture out in different tunings, but at this point, you're not ready. Stay with the standard stuff first till you get that sorted out. Then you can move on, and all the other tunings relate to the standard tuning in some way, shape, or form because it's the most universal and the most used at this time in our history of the guitar. I still think it'll always be that way because standard open tuning is really, it leaves you a lot of options, a lot more than a lot of other tunings. Because of the fingering, it's within easier reach, and again because of the distances of the notes between the strings. Notes and the strings are really important, the distance. Okay, so there's that, and then there's a thing called tones and semitones, which, well, you need to know that. There's a few things you need to know. I'm going to take a few shortcuts here because I could go into a lot more I could probably spend an hour on this lesson and still not be completely satisfied. But here's a touch on how it works. And we'll take 1 string or 2 strings or whatever I get time to do. But here's the deal. We have to know a few things. There's names for the measurement in music, just like there's names for the measurement of distance and the measurement of, say you're building something out of wood and you want to measure a piece of wood. You know, you've got your ruler or your tape measure there, and you may measure it in inches or you may measure it in millimeters and centimeters, but either way, you have some kind of label for the measurement, and we do that in music too. And how that works is a thing called tones and semitones, or whole steps and half steps. Now, what you need to remember is this. Number 1, a whole step is 2 frets, either up or down, higher or lower. When you go higher, you're shortening the string length. The string vibrates from the saddle back here to the nut, so when it's open, it's the longest it's going to be. As you start fretting the guitar, the string becomes shorter and the pitch becomes higher. Okay, so it goes up in letter name. Got it? It goes up in letter name. All right. Now that means, and the reason why I mentioned the tones and semitones, also, by the way, they call whole steps and half steps. Like a tone can also be termed a whole step, and a semitone can also be termed a half step. They mean the same thing. A tone being 2 frets, a semitone being half that, 1 fret. So a tone 2, a semitone 1. A semitone is the smallest distance between 2 notes in our musical system. There are some musical systems that work on smaller distances than that, and the blues players, when they're stretching strings, work on smaller distances than a semitone. But they're not writable out in our standard music notation, not very easily anyways. It's not a recognized note, it's in between. And so, of course, a semitone happens to be the smallest note distance, and after that it gets harder and harder for our ear to hear the pitch difference. But at a semitone, we can still kind of discern it, especially if you're not an advanced musician or advanced music listener. You won't hear as much. The more you listen, the more your ear improves. So here's the deal. We have these tones and semitones, or whole steps and half steps. That's our measurement. And the rule is a whole step or a tone is 2 frets, and a half step or semitone is 1 fret. That means for each fret we have another note. Now I'm not concerned about all the notes because I'll give you a little secret. Learn the natural notes first. Then it's easy to figure out the accidentals. The accidentals are the sharps and flats. Those are always a huge confusion. But it's the natural notes you need to lay down first on the guitar. Try that first. I think you'll find it a lot easier after to discover your flats and sharps, and you don't have to memorize it as much. This is not about memorizing as much as it is about getting how it functions. If you can get the mechanical function of it, you're going to do really well. Okay, now let's just do the top string to show you how this works. Keep in mind it can be done on all 6 strings. So E is here because that's the note I've tuned this guitar to at this point. Now if I go up 1 fret, if I just press down on the first fret, I've raised the note by 1 fret. That's the pitch difference of 1 fret. Now, here we have this deal going on, like I told you, the tones and the semitones, and now I told you we have the natural notes, right? And now we have to combine that, the distance with the natural notes. The natural notes are the first 7 letters of the alphabet, okay? And now you combine them, and this is how you combine them. You have to remember 2 things about the natural notes. All the natural notes have a distance of a tone or a whole step between them, except for the distances between B to C and E to F. Now I can't get into deep about this, but the truth is that we're stuck with that system, and the reason why we're stuck with that system is because of the way it evolved and our note structure. I could get into it a lot deeper, but I'm not going to. You're just going to have to accept it. B to C is a natural semitone. There's no flat or sharp in between it. And E to F is a natural semitone. There's no sharp or flat. Which is why when you go to the guitar and you've got this low E here and you move to the first fret, you've raised it 1 fret, that becomes an F. Because E to F is a natural semitone. So your first natural note is only a fret above because this string is tuned to E. So if that's E, then this is F. Now the next natural note's a tone. It's G. That's 2 frets. 1, 2. So that'll be 3rd fret is G. Now go another 2 frets and you have A. Go another 2 frets and you have B. But here, watch out. From your B to your C, you got to go a semitone because it's a natural semitone. So it's 1 fret. So that's C. If that's B, that's C. Wherever you have a B, you have a C. 1 fret higher. It's the rule. Wherever you have an E, you have an F. 1 semitone higher because it's a natural semitone. B to C and E to F. Or they're on every string. Okay, so there's B, there's C. That's 8th fret. C to D is a tone, and D to E is a tone. So there's your octave. 12th fret, double dot is your octave. It's your repeat. You can continue on from there. E to F, semitone. F to G, tone. G to A, and so forth. And it continues on. You can go to your next string and do that too. Here's an A string. A to B is 2 frets, so 1, 2, that's got to be a B. The next one's a natural semitone. That's got to be C. Next one's a tone again. That's got to be 2 frets, 1, 2. That's the 5th fret now. That's a D on the 5th string. The next is an E. That's 2 frets up from the D. There's an E. 2 frets. Now E to F's a semitone, 1 fret. Then G, a tone. Then A, a tone. Notice we started with an A at the open string. We ended at the 12th fret with an octave. All right. Now that works on every string. If you need to know more, or you need to have a deeper lesson on this with more detail, you're going to have to check me out at my website, riffninja.com. This is Colin Daniels signing out for now. Good luck and have fun.